Welcome into the Friday Refresh brought to you by BenandTravis.com, the home of the back-to-back champions and the new standard in football, fantasy football that is, the team known as the Carbonite Echoes. At BenandTravis.com, there are all kinds of free content for you to explore, and while you're there, you can visit the store and get 10% off Martin Luther King weekend. Be sure to use the code MLK23. Don't sweat the small stuff, they say. But sometimes that's easier said than done. There are plenty of small things that can make us miserable and or shut us down. A flea is small but would make life miserable for a dog. A gnat is minuscule but will annoy you to death. One small cog can break and completely disable a huge grandfather clock. I've heard Lonnie Jones ask on several occasions, what's the most important part of a car? He answers, it's the part that's not working when you need it. A windshield wiper or headlights are small compared to the rest of the car, but if they aren't working, the rest of the car is not very useful in a rainstorm or a dark night. This weekend, I traveled to Dallas, Texas for CYC. I've been with a group of my very best friends all day, but there's an ulcer right under my tongue that's made it much less enjoyable than it usually is. It hurts to talk or drink or even eat. One small thing disrupting my whole world for the last several hours. You got anything like that? Maybe it isn't exactly physical. Maybe it's emotional, relational, or even spiritual. One little thing that makes life a little bit miserable. A quote, small sin allowed to stick around because it isn't hurting anyone. A relationship that seems harmless because you just hook up occasionally without any strings attached. Maybe it's a small habit that helps you relax, but takes you away from your family and from being present with them. A short outburst or anger that don't last long but usually leave an emotional mark on your loved ones. Certainly there are also small annoyances that you cannot help, some things that others do and things that simply happen around you. So what do you do about all of these things? First, determine if it's something you have control over. Did you create it? Can you do anything to change it? If you don't have control over it, then start asking what you can do to limit its power on you. Can you walk away? Can you minimize your exposure? If it is something that you have allowed to be in your life, a sin that you have let sit in your heart, your words or your actions, or a struggle with impatience or anger or sadness or any other emotion that creates difficulty, then what would it take to remove it? Who could you contact to help you with it? Could you talk to a friend, a parent, a sibling, a minister, or a counselor? Are you willing to look for remedies? Are you willing to ask for help? If not, then why not? Is it pride that's the little thing that's actually at work causing the problem? Is it timidity, fear of stepping out and letting people know you're struggling? You see, small stuff that impacts the big stuff is not actually small stuff. Maybe you just need to learn not to sweat it, or maybe you need to put a little sweat, blood, and maybe even some tears into a course of action to handle it. And that is your Friday Refresh.